Howie Houdini does it again. The Eagles just made a move that nobody saw coming, and while there is some unclear reporting on the actual details, we have the most accurate information as of this current time. So we'll talk about what it means, but also what it means for what is next for this Eagles team, as Howie Roseman might have something else brewing in the pipeline. We'll get into it all, but welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the show. We cover the Eagles every single day. You can follow me on my own socials as well, at RB Philly Take. But just a little while ago, a major bombshell, right? You get the notification. Adam Schefter. Who saw this coming? Eagles are rewarding Saquon Barkley with a 2-year, $41.2 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid running back in NFL history. The deal makes Barkley the NFL's first $20 million plus per year running back. He also has the ability to earn an additional $15 million in incentives and escalators. The deal includes $36 million fully guaranteed at signing. The Eagles are taking the rare step of extending Barkley 1 year into his 3-year deal, and in the same league year in which they signed him to the initial contract. Okay, so as soon as I heard this, man, my mind went a couple different ways. Whoa. We'll get to that in a second. But Saquon reacts to the news here on his own social media. Shout out to Saquon Barkley. He says, grateful for the Eagles organization, grateful for my team, grateful for the amazing fans in Philly. Fly, Eagles, fly. I mean, it just keeps getting better. You know, it's like one of those movies you watch that just, it just keeps building up the anticipation. It's like, what comes next? This is awesome, man. You signed him last year, 3 years, $37 million, the type of impact he had, and now you sign him again. I mean, another contract extension, Super Bowl champion in less than a year. Saquon Barkley signed with the Eagles, rushed for over 2,000 yards, probably would have had the single season record if they had played him against the Giants. I mean, the whole Hard Knocks thing, how that played out, the Giants becoming an absolute disaster. Then he wins Offensive Player of the Year, wins a Super Bowl title, gets a ring, and now he lands an extension, making him the highest paid running back in NFL history. And oh, by the way, we can add on 10 million other things. Breaks the record for most yards in a season, regular season and playoffs combined. 7 runs of 60-plus yards for a touchdown. Top 10 performance of all time against the Rams. Breaks off the first play of the game for a touchdown in the NFC Championship. Wins the Super Bowl. Crazy stuff for Saquon. He is on an all-time run. But when I first heard this news, my mind went a couple different directions. And I'm going to tell you the underrated one first, okay? Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles are very adaptable. I think that's an important trait, an important quality. And you think back to this organization, I mean, they never valued the running back position, just like they never valued the cornerback position. And last year, they go out against everybody's expectations, and they pay Saquon Barkley, right? They do the unthinkable. They bring him in when everybody said he was washed, when it was a weird year for running backs, right? Just like they said the Ravens overpaid Derrick Henry, and they invest in Saquon, and they put him behind that mammoth of an offensive line, and you see what he does. You see the single-handed impact that he had. They draft a corner in the first round. They pick up a couple in the early rounds. They haven't done that in 20 years. Look at how productive those players were. Look at how important those integral pieces were. So now they sign Saquon even more. People are going to say this is a bad move, but I'll go back to the thing I said originally when they signed him. There's tier one, a couple guys that are game changers at the position. Saquon is one of those. He fits the Eagles so well. And I honestly think that the formula is going to continue. I don't see Saquon falling off a cliff, because they have the system perfectly designed. They have the formula. They have the strategy, the philosophy. They know how they're going to keep drafting up front in the trenches. They know, for example, on the defense, you know, how they're going to continue to invest in edge rushers and, you know, now maybe cornerbacks. They have the system in place. They now just need to keep these players coming in, right? Revolving door cycle style, and just keeping these guys coming through the doors. So, you know, they went out, they paid Saquon. Nobody really believed in it, and you saw the impact it had, and now they're getting ahead of it. And that's my other point. Man, something is brewing here. Something has happened. Like Howie Roseman right? If you thought that he may have been chilling out on a beach, on vacation, no, he's behind the doors working. Howie Roseman earlier today was on an interview, I guess a podcast here, the McShay Show, and he was asked about the first Super Bowl win against the second. He says, it's almost like the first time you have sex. You're so glad you had it. It's not even the quality of it, but the second time it's like, wow, I can actually have fun and enjoy this. So look, man, Freaky Howie season is out. This guy wants to keep having this pleasure, keep feeling this. He's not satisfied just yet. He's ready to rock and roll. What a guy, man. Now, there is some unclear reporting on this contract extension. To be clear, we do not have the actual details yet, but Jeff Seversky sent everybody into another universe because he put out this tweet saying that the move by Howie Roseman decreases the cap hit for Saquon for this upcoming year from $13.575 million down to $7.361. And then he lists out the numbers according to Over the Cap. However, there is some conflicting information because over on Spot Track, as Shane Half says here, he was not set to hit the cap for $13 million next season. It was actually 6.8, which is the exact number that it was before the extension. So we do not have the actual numbers yet, but if you think about this move in totality, right, and going back to the just unprecedented move here in the Eagles organization, one, they're coming out of their comfort zone and they're doing something that they know is going to work. But number two, they are setting up more future flexibility, right? You don't do this move just to make Saquon happy. That's surely part of it, right? You keep him here. He's satisfied. You get at him before other running backs get paid, whatever, right? The Eagles have done a good job of that, but they're also creating some flexibility. So I would assume that the cap hit number is going to go down. I don't know if it'll go down and be cut in half, but it most likely will go down. And that leads us to, what comes next, right? Spot Track, the Twitter account, they do a great job putting these figures out. I said this here on Twitter. Eagles extend players a year before we all think they should. One, it keeps their cap fluid and controllable. Two, it rewards players with upfront cash. And C, it is noticed by every player and agent throughout the league. So some good pointers there from the Spot Track account. And, again, I keep going back to this quote that Howie Roseman had at the Combine, right? He said, this upcoming season is the most important. Our team is not going to look the same. They cut Slay. Today they went out and actually another piece of breaking news, they cut James Bradberry, which we all expected to happen, but now his numbers are off the books, and they keep making these moves because Howie knows he needs to stay 2 steps ahead. He needs to get out in front of it. And he said, we have guys that are 25, 26, 27, 28. We have guys that are in their second year, but we already know somewhere in the pipeline, we have to pay these guys, so we're trying to set that up as far in advance as possible, create that nice balance of the vets and the young guys, and still be a very productive, beneficial team in every way. So, I just think he's way ahead of it. And I think he is trying to perform all of these things and just keep them on the right track. And also, Brett Coleman here says that Jeff Lurie has hundreds upon hundreds of millions of liquid capital to make the majority of Saquon's deal guaranteed. Howie can manipulate the cap however he wants to with their void year shenanigans. This literally will not hurt them at all. And although Howie has had to improve as a drafter and, signing guys like that, he's always been a cap wizard. So he has been doing these things for a long time. He knows exactly what he is doing, and I'm going to trust him, but I also think something else is coming next. And what could that be? Well, maybe it's Zach Bond. Maybe it is Mekhi Becton and Zach Bond. Maybe it's Milton Williams. Somehow they find a way, to meet his figure. Or maybe it could be Zach Bond and then they go trade for Myles Garrett, right? Depending on the price tag. So I just think that one thing leads to the next. Nobody sees these moves coming. I think it's very good for Saquon. And I think he's going to kind of transcend the narrative out there, right? The stereotype right now about running backs. And I think, he is going to be a productive player for a long time. Sure, there's a chance that he could fall off. I just don't really think it's likely based on how the Eagles are built. And I think they're just trying to address everything. I mean, this team just won the Super Bowl and they're one of the most active teams right now. So it just says a lot about Howie's mindset. James Cook also reacted to the news about Saquon Barkley with some eye emojis. Like I said, other guys now looking to get a big payday. And, after the first year of a deal like this for a running back who's 28 years old, Howie says, you know what? I'm going against the grain again. I'm going to sign him even more for a couple extra years. So I'm just glad that he's going to be here. Most likely will retire with the Eagles. And he now gets to say, I'm that guy, right? First NFL's 20 million plus per year running back. And he's changed the game in a lot of ways. Going back to James Bradberry, James Bradberry did have a statement saying that he got to experience the Eagles fan base, the greatest fan base in the world. He's glad he got to experience the highs and lows. And I just wanted to say, man, shout out to James Bradberry. He could have cried and pouted and, I didn't get my way. And I mean, you go from an all-pro, making the Super Bowl, and then you're a guy that can barely produce and you look terrible. Shout out to him. He stayed professional. He was very classy and he helped the young guys and never made a distraction, never made it about himself, tried to switch positions. So utmost respect for James Bradberry. Glad he got a ring and I wish him the best wherever he goes. Just speaks to the kind of guys they want to bring in here with this team. And overall, this is why, with everything we've talked about here, that the Eagles separate themselves from other organizations. Now, Washington had a great run this year. They had a great story. They trade for Deebo Samuel, right? And maybe it's a guy who they get very low risk here and maybe he can resurrect himself. But you look at Washington, I can guarantee you they are not going back to the NFC Championship. It's not because of Jaden Daniels. He's special, right? But look at how many pending free agents they have, how many one-year deals they had this offseason, how many vets. They're not going to be able to meet all those price tags and bring everybody back. So I do feel like in the short-term future, they're going to have a little bit of a step back. That's because they, went out, pushed all their chips in this year, and obviously they made it farther than they thought, right? Got lucky to sneak into the playoffs, got to the NFC Championship. They still got blown out. Meanwhile, the Eagles have guys that are in their first, second, third years of their deals, and they are already thinking about how to extend them in the long term. How can they maximize this window? How can they build a dynasty? And again, it just goes to show the heroics of Howie Houdini and just how smart this guy is. So, could be a decent move for the Commanders, very low risk, but they have a lot more work to do with their roster. Congratulations to Saquon Barkley. Glad he'll be here for a while. And with that being said, I will catch you all on the next one.